People will call me focused. I'm the Olympic athlete. I know what I want. Da da da.
I benefit a lot from having been an Olympic rower Olympian, but it doesn't say you would be a good businessman. So you have to earn that right also. Some people are looking at me as if they see water burn. Reinder, I thought you were this smart person. What are you doing? So it's, if you go on a rowing machine, every stroke, it says the amount of watts, your power. You shouldn't complain. You're a loser if you complain because you control the input. And we were lucky that within a year, the company got acquired. An offer from a UK listed company and we had a nice price. That was amazing.
Is your IR comparable or outperforms that of NBA star turned VCs? So Reinder, I'm very honored to have you here with us at YUVC, the YU Venture Capital podcast. And you've really had some quite amazing journeys before. Like you were once a former Olympic Games player in Beijing, and you were also standing for your national team. And you were formerly an investment banker, a venture capitalist nowadays. You founded No Such Ventures, a quite interesting new form of venture capital in the European venture scene, and since 2018. So today, I'm really excited to have this conversation with you. So maybe let's just jump into that.
Nice. Hope I don't disappoint.
No, definitely won't. So I tried to make a bit improvements in the questions.
Super. Well, I already liked your questions. They weren't also standard. And a bit funny timing because I think before that I haven't given a podcast for 2 years. So thanks for asking me.
That's great. I also hate interviewing people who are doing the podcast once a week because there's no sort of novelty then. Okay, great. So let's start with your Beijing experience maybe. So how was Beijing? How was your overall Olympic experience in Beijing back then?
For me, it was amazing also because the culture is a little bit different, obviously, than in the Netherlands. There were more new experiences and I was still very young in Beijing. I wasn't sure whether I would make those Olympic Games. And some people told me focus on 2012 on London, but that would have been I know London, it's closer to me, if you understand what I mean. So competing in Beijing, I absolutely loved it. I loved the atmosphere, the size of it. I also love that Chinese people want to do things right. So you had the own Chinese organization, which was huge, next to the IOC, just, also running things on their own, which was interesting dynamics. And which was really nice is that the games take 2 weeks and some days, and our rowing was finished sort of halfway. So I had plenty of time to look at other sports, travel a bit. I did to some nice places and attend some nice parties, whereby other sports are finished sort of at the back end. They're less lucky.
Yeah, have you visited Beijing later again? Not really yet, right?
No, actually I haven't. So indeed, I visited Shanghai a couple of weeks ago, which I really liked. Love the city, to be honest.
True, and we also prefer Shanghai.
You prefer Shanghai? Yeah, nice you say it. What I heard about the difference in internationalization and maybe mindset or connectivity with Western cultures. No, I really enjoyed Shanghai, and it was also a interesting reality check. No, I know what my age is, but 2008 seems like a long time ago. So suddenly you feel old. No,
16
kidding.
years ago. Well, 16 years ago, I was at primary school, I guess. Sorry. So there's actually a saying in China. So if you were once in Beijing, and then any place that you move to later, that will be a heaven for you.
Yeah, is that a saying? That's funny. That's interesting.
Not quite user or citizen friendly.
Probably everyone in life is biased. But I live in Amsterdam. I absolutely love this place. If you talk about pollution or the size of the city, it's obviously a village compared to Beijing and Shanghai. But I don't live in the center or close to it. But on bike, in max 25 minutes, I cover the entire city. On bike, I get everywhere. And you have the canals and trees. And I'm in love with this place. You should come over. I don't know if you ever have.
Sure. It's a city for bikers, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, we rule the city.
Nice. That next time, definitely.
So
nice.
what does a rowing experience mean to you? And because it took you 3 years of training. You said 2006 to 2009.
Yeah, sharp.
I guess more than that, right?
That was my years at the federation, but I only rowed 2 years before that. So I rowed 5 years, not that long. I was maybe blessed with my body DNA and a hard head, because you have to endure a lot of pain. But yeah, rowing brought me a lot. Rowing has a very clear connection between your input and your output. It's super honest. So how well you sleep, how well you eat, how well you train, how well you think of how you train, etc. You know, if you go on a rowing machine, every stroke, it says the amount of watts, your power. Maybe no sport, or maybe just few, which are more honest. So it also taught me, and this might sound a bit, I don't know, cheesy, but it showed me that everything you put in life, you get back one way or the other. And sometimes it's blurry, don't get it back straight away or whatever, but you can influence everything in your life. And if you believe that, then also you know you shouldn't complain. You're a loser if you can complain, because you control the input, just focus on results, and it makes life very nice.
It sounds a lot like the book 7 Habits of the High Performance People. You control your life.
Yeah, of Stephen Covey. Yeah, love it. Yeah, and you control your life. So I was blessed maybe a bit to experience that also my own doing, because when I was a first year student, after drinking a cup of beers, a girl walked up to me and said, "You should be rowing." And maybe the beers also helped me, and this being a girl, that I said, well, of course I'll try. 6 weeks trial period.
Is she your girlfriend?
She came close, but she's now one of the best friends of me and my now wife. I also met my wife at the rowing club, but I said yes to the experience. And had I said no, no, I'll soccer because I know that sport, or I'll play other sports. So me also saying yes to many things.
So are there any similarities between the rowing and the VC, what you're doing now?
Yeah, very much, because it's also venture capital is a high pressure and high performance industry. Like, it's super competitive, the hottest deals, everyone's chasing them. Most of the startups, as we know, fail. So it means in your portfolio, it's a bit of a shit show. You need to manage so many things. So you will have many setbacks. I think founders from a distance, or people in general, think, VCs, what a nice job. I like the job, I really do. But, investing money, sitting on your throne or whatever, mate, it's far from the truth. Like, every VC's portfolio is on fire. Yes, you have a couple of winners, you have more losers. The VCs that say they don't are straight up liars. And, you have your own team to manage, but I absolutely love it. I say it. Teamwork is a big thing, which, funny story about the rowing, but obviously team sport is so important there. You share one center of gravity in your boat. You share one output, speed. So, hey, right, I sometimes say your breakfast is as important as mine. So I will also have an opinion about your breakfast, but it also, the plus side thing is I always also wish you all the best, but I want you to have all the best because I know you influence me. So my colleagues, I want to give them all the space, because I know when I worked in an investment bank and you had all these levels and people try, hierarchies, and people just feed you with tasks like, hey, do this, instead of explaining why we do it or to make you enthusiastic to do it, that I hated or didn't like. So then you try to do it in your own team. And I hope, that my colleagues can, enjoy that.
Yeah, in VC you definitely have more like responsibility sharing and more like spontaneity.
I agree very much. Yeah, that's a nice thing, which sometimes, I also worked in private equity and in M&A, but you're very right. VC is way more spontaneous. The investment processes aren't standard. The founders need to like you, right? Yeah. I'm buying 20% and they need me going forward. Private equity, if they sell 80 or 100%, it's a one-time transaction. They want the highest price, and then it's way different dynamics, and I like it. It's more human focused than number focused.
You just said like founders should like you, but is it necessary that you like the founders so that you invest in them?
Good question. I like your directness also in asking questions. And the truth is, no, you don't. So I think you must sort of trust each other a little bit, that you have the right intentions. But I have to now switch back to an example from rowing again. In rowing crews, if you and I don't like each other, But we think you and I in the same boat will make us go fastest in the Beijing Summer Games. We'll row together, no problem. So also with founders, if I don't like a founder, and then we would still maybe invest. But you do want, the founder does give us a large set of vetoes. So if they don't trust Reinder or my colleagues, then it will be hard to sort of sign a term sheet with them. And of course, when you're invested, you will have tough conversations with most of them. So it's, but that's also in life, right? How do you go about that? It's always interesting.
A further question. I wonder if it's okay that you reveal that kind of a ratio, like the deals, winning all the deals that you've done, the founders you like and the founders you don't like.
Ooh, that's a very good, I must say.
Then the founders from a portfolio might wonder if he likes me or not.
Yeah, well, the Dutch have a reputation of being honest and open, but I really like to be honest and open. I don't have that many secrets, but I must say maybe it's a weakness of me. I think I like most founders. Otherwise, maybe it's sometimes also tricky to get excited. And it's also the interesting part of investing in founders. Like, there aren't a lot of people I dislike, maybe only if I distrust their motives. But I like the mega commercial founder and also like the introverted tech or product.
Cool.
It's just that sometimes the founders I wouldn't like are maybe the ones that are that you don't trust 100%. Sometimes maybe too commercial. Then you think, like, don't F me over, just be honest. Like,
Yeah, I like your honesty and straightforwardness. To be honest, like in our emails, like you were so straight and honest. Like, I surely can bring you like the upside of like bringing high net worth individuals like who are watching our episodes. So I really like it. Like no one else who I invited asked this kind of questions, and I really appreciate that, to be honest.
Oh, well, nice that you can appreciate the straightforwardness. And I also like your approach, and also when I saw the questions, I thought, nice. It's not all standard.
Great.
Who is the VC that motivated you to enter the world of VC? Because in China, even if you're an Olympic champion, maybe you cannot find a job. And in the eyes of other recruiters, they think maybe you're an older female sport student.
Yeah, interesting. I think here I benefit a lot from having been an Olympic rower Olympian. But it's true that it doesn't say you would be a good businessman or woman. So you have to earn that right also. But at some stage when I worked at the investment bank, a friend of mine who had already, who started working at venture capital before me, he came back to me, he told me, I love it and I think this really suits you well, Reinder. So that's why I then set my sights on venture capital. So that's why I thought, okay, I have to jump in and to experience what it is, because you don't know how a certain job is or industry before you work there. We all try to construct an image. You don't know until you work there. So I just started working at a firm which maybe also wasn't my dream firm in venture capital, but I just wanted to try. And once you're in, then you're in. So that was sort of my journey. And what interested in me, I got in contact with an Israeli, very large deal-by-deal VC called Our Crowd. And the name says it a bit. They fund with the crowd. So literally on their website, you see for what companies they're fundraising with a ticker, with the amount of money they're at currently. So super transparent, large scale. So that also showed me a bit, oh, wow, that's interesting that they do deal by deal at such a scale and in such a manner. So that's, that also inspired me a little bit to understand what options there are to run a VC.
Great. So have you tried any like personal investing before like entering officially the world of VC?
Good question. And no, I would have loved to as an angel, but my financial situation, I couldn't complain, but I didn't have that much play money. I just also needed for our first investments because every venture capital manager needs to invest themselves, but like also deal by deal. Yeah, to build track record, but also in every deal I have to fund myself a bit. Otherwise, people, wouldn't trust me.
Well, because like in China, like normally, like being a Olympic game player is like the end of the career. And later, like after their Olympic career, they just live on that title. and then they just
Oh, wow.
reap revenues from that title, right? They can go to events, attend events, and like making some ads for some big commercial brands. And yeah, hopefully like this kind of situation would change like in the near future.
Interesting that you say that. Obviously, I wasn't the most well-known Dutch Olympian, so I'm not sure whether I could do that otherwise, other than maybe holding some talks if you become good at that. But it is interesting to see how much diversity people love to enjoy in their own lives or not. For instance, looking at rowing or my peers, some just kept on rowing until their body, until they couldn't do it anymore, mid-30s, sometimes even late 30s. And then they finish rowing and they start coaching. They also don't have that many other options, but they stay in the rowing world, and that's fine. They just want one thing, they like it, they stay there. As I said earlier, I like to experience many things. I'm super open-minded. I didn't mind putting my life only on rowing to try and get the games. I had the mentality, nothing will stop me, I will run through walls. But then when I had gone to the games, I noticed internally my motivation going to second Olympic Games. That's not that special as going to your first. While, a friend of mine did mixed martial arts. I wanted to try that. I went into a rowing organization. I wanted to finish my studies. I wanted to do so many different things. But that's me. That just suits me. While others were like, well, I like this now. I'll keep it that way and fine.
That's the mentality for venture capitalists. And yeah, the venture capital at the next step, or like the second curve of an Olympic player career is definitely like an outlier as such.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I'm super happy that I'm doing this work now. And as you say, it's very diverse. The set of activities we do in our work, the different types of companies we look at. You have to source them, analyze, negotiate. You're a shareholder, the whole portfolio management. How do you add value or not? How are you partner to the founders, the exit? My own team to manage, our investors, which is a whole different ball game. It's super diverse. I think it comes close to being an entrepreneur itself.
Sure.
What was your first deal like?
Yeah, we are so curious about that.
Yeah, the first deal was really tricky. I could write a small book about it. I think also for most startups, getting your first client, we invested 2 million in a company, but obviously you need both things. First, you need one deal, and then you need the investors. I didn't have people in my network who had a lot of money, so I didn't have already the investors lined up. I found a company first. I knew management, so they at some stage they trusted me and think I'm not the biggest idiot, so they wanted me to invest 2 million. But then, where do I find 2 million? So I had to, hustle very hard, made a little book together with my partner, and then talked with investors, from people I met at the investment bank, people I knew from sports, but not even knew that well, because you need to have serious money to invest 100,000 in one startup / scale up. You need a lot of money. So these people don't grow on trees. You need to find them. So it was, I was hustling. And during the process, the company also talked with other investors. So it was very tricky. The deal was twice close to falling off, and I'd already canceled my first, job. Yeah, here we have 2 young kids, no salary, and this deal going left and right, because one of the big investors who had never invested in venture capital, found it very, I had to keep him on board. So yeah, there was a roller coaster, and then it happened, and then we succeeded to invest. That was amazing. And we were lucky that within a year, the company got acquired. We got an offer from a UK listed company, and we had a nice price. And that was amazing, because as you also said, track record, that's the only thing, or the biggest thing. So yeah, it was a good start for us.
That's quite some hustle and bustle.
Is it difficult to explain to your investor about the approach deal by deal?
Good one. Yes, but most understand that concept. Sort of they understand how it works, that they have the luxury of choosing. But for many people, it's too risky to invest in one company and also they need to form an opinion. So obviously we tell them, you should invest in this company, otherwise we wouldn't, because we first sign a term sheet with the company and then we go to our investors and invite them who wants to invest with us. So it's our choice to sign a term sheet, and also we don't ask them, hey, what do you think of this company? We ask them, do you want to invest together or not? Like, we're going to invest anyway. Do you want to join or not? But most people that have money, where did they make it or how? Inherited, real estate, listed, or traditional types of companies. So then telling that we invest in startups that we pay 8 or 10 times revenue, that they're burning cash. Some people are looking at me as if they see water burn. Like, Reinder, I thought you were this smart person. What are you doing? So it's not easy. I think if you raise 1 million in venture capital funding, you could raise 5 to 10 million to invest in real estate or others. That's pretty easy compared to this. But you try and work your charm. No kidding, but also be that they again trust, that they think, okay, I'll take a bet on you, mostly because they find it hard to judge the companies.
So what kind of portrait is like the most suitable, or like you find them are the guys who are more willingly to invest in like a deal by deal kind of business?
Good question. People, individuals, like often family offices, they want to invest in funds. They don't have the mandate or the risk appetite to decide per company. So it's mainly people, often entrepreneurs, or people which made money but sort of feel entrepreneurial. And also, obviously, I try to fuel that. I tell them, hey, if we had sent you our investment memoranda of the last 5 companies we've invested in, I am sure you are going to have an opinion. So if you invest with the fund, the plus side is you don't have to do anything. You committed money and they do all the work. But they will also invest in companies which you don't really like. So with us, you can choose yes, no. But also you can vary in amount. You can say, okay, I'll do this one. No, do this one. This one I absolutely love. And then they think, I like that. On the other side, as I said, most companies don't do as you want to. And then you see who can handle the risk appetite. Like, we try to tell them these are high risk investments. Most people understand. But some people, when they're in the process, they learn like, why does this company not perform? And you're saying, well, that's the name of the game. This isn't real estate, which, in time goes like this. It goes like this, buddy. So that's why, that's the downside of deal by deal, that some people with a lower risk appetite, they find it hard to invest with us.
So I'm also curious, like, about this number, the churn rate about your investors.
Good question. We are approaching 6 years of age as a firm, and the first 2 years we didn't do that many investments yet. Now we've invested in 15 companies, but so we haven't had that much churn yet, but we do have some churn, and mainly people that find the risk profile too high, and or invested in 1, 2, or 3 companies. And whereby those 1, 2, or 3 companies don't do that well, so they get a bit of a cold shower, and I understand. But also, when onboarding, we try to tell them, how diversified are you? And if you mainly invest with us, please invest in 5 or more companies, because it's also tricky for us. I can't guarantee that any 3 companies.
No one can guarantee.
True.
But what if the startup you invested in failed?
Just failed,
Just failed, actually. And it means 100% loss for the deal's investors. And will it affect their trust in you?
Yeah, super good question. So it's mainly revolves around the first contact with the investor, that you need to tell this person, hey, don't put your pension money in this, because you can lose it. Obviously, it's not commercially too handy to say immediately, but it is the truth, and we also try to tell them, like, hey, you could lose it all. So understand this, and don't feel hatred to us or too negative if that happens. Obviously, we try not to make it happen. But then indeed, we lose it all. So I think it's something that our investors need to be able to handle, to stomach. On the entrepreneurs, the companies we invest in, sometimes it's a plus for them, because if they don't do amazingly well but reasonable or flat, like, our group of investors will be more willing to fight for that company, because they've invested in this one company. Had this company been 1 out of 20 in a fund, I think we'd be sooner to drop it. Like, didn't work out. Let's not put too much time in the losers, because you put a lot of time in your losers, relative losers. It's a harsh word, but it's true. And entrepreneurs like it, that they then think, oh yeah, but this group is, invested and also mentally invested in us, in one company. They might want to bridge us a bit further or help us more, which is true, and sometimes helps us win deals also.
Yeah, like from an individual investor's point of view, I might think like I'm more willing to do whatever it takes to help this company, because like this is like one of 3 companies I invested. Yeah, this is like the money on stake. For sure.
Yeah, for sure. So it's a plus for the company and also a plus for us, because these persons help. And sometimes, they also ask us more questions and they're more concerned about the company, which I understand, and it's all their right. So we also have to manage that, obviously, manage our group of investors, but that's doable.
But here's one thing that deal-by-deal based venture capital business cannot ignore. It's like, so the prerequisite for venture capital is the scalability, but deal by deal, you really compromise on the scalability, right? So you have one theme for each deal, maybe, and you also are geo-agnostic, you are like sector-agnostic, and some might wonder, you may compromise on like the consistency, focus, and market perception. Might think like such a flexible approach, really, like it means like you kind of lack a clear strategy. So how would you respond to that?
I think it's a valid question. I understand where people come from. If you do 10 different things, you won't be as good as doing one thing. I think we also had discussions sort of being a specialist versus a generalist. Historically, the returns are the same. I think both have clear advantages. But if you're a specialist, you lose out on interesting deals, mainly coming from human networks. And it's obviously, we're now Sequoia, they have a huge brand name, but also personal networks. And if now Sequoia would only do fintech, there will be not only people drawing to their company, but also people they know, having studied with them or, did sports or whatever. And they really just want to work with this one person, this partner or this firm. And then you miss out on these deals. And I had experienced that at my previous investing companies, whereby we couldn't do a certain deal because it was out of the mandate, and that hurt me a bit. So that's why I like being a generalist. But you can also turn around. What if Koya would be the world's largest deal-by-deal investor? What would happen is that if let's again say a fintech company would go to Sequoia and want funding, you would see that if they would have such a large group of investors, most people applying to invest would come from the fintech scene because they like that company, they understand it. So conversely, for this company, it might be the most interesting origin of money because it sort of self-selects themselves to this company. So our investor pool isn't big enough to have such a diverse group, but we do have more than 100 investors. But it does work in a nice way that people which have some feeling for that company, sometimes their backgrounds relate to a bit, they sign up to invest in that company. The scalability, you can manage that. As I said, our crowd literally has the companies on their website. Hey, we're raising here, and literally click a button and then you're subscribed. It is a little bit more work to mainly also post-investment to manage the investors. Because, in a fund, you get a report every quarter. Hey, dear investors, this is how the fund is doing. 1 page per company, here you go. We report 7 pages per company, for instance, per quarter. Get asked many more questions, organize meetings. So, that's less, on the one hand, less scalable. But you could argue if your product maybe is a little bit better as a VC to the entrepreneurs and or investors, shouldn't you as a team put in the time and just enlarge your own team or have the systems in place. So I understand where the question is coming from, but I think some outsiders think that deal by deal is more work than it actually is.
Yeah. It also reminds me of that, like, so you literally give the opportunity or like the choice of different deals to the investors themselves. Like they can choose whatever they want to invest. Like you might have invested like in 15 deals, and then they might like investor A might choose these 5 companies, and investor B might choose these 8 companies, and they have like this kind of combination which match to their own like risk preferences or like thematic preferences, whatever.
Yeah, exactly like that. That's a good summary. Yeah.
Great. So also like I also saw that you would like to give all your investors a say in the deal making process. So I wonder like to which extent are you giving them a say? Because like you also mentioned, some investors are really coming from traditional business. They are like traditional business owners. They are not exactly like match the risk profile of like a investor for venture capital business. Like to which extent are you giving them the say to both like protect their money on stake and also like giving them more freedom to have their own say?
Actually, they don't have the largest say before we invest, because we make the decision as our own team whether we want to invest in the company or not. But obviously we try to involve a couple of investors to help us with due diligence, to help us understand the company and its potential. But they're not involved in whether we want to invest or not. And then they literally get an invite whether they want to invest with us. There are a couple of other deal-by-deal VCs I know of whereby the investors have a bigger say, whereby there are investor meetings with all the investors, whereby the entrepreneurs have to pitch and tell a good story before getting a term sheet, and then some investors are in the lead. That's not with us the case. We tried it, but exactly to your point, literally we had someone who sells clothes in retail have a mega strong opinion about a company this person really didn't understand, and this person dominated the meeting, and then you're like, hey, you're not the investment professional, like leave it to the pros, and you can decide for yourself whether you want to invest or not. So yeah, that's the route we went, whereby we are a bit the filter between company and investors who are useful to use from the investor pool.
How does your colleague invest in HBO, like you said in your website, and do they have so much money?
Good one. No.
Not each team member of an investment team really earns that a lot of cash flow, right? And the carry is really like behind the loop.
Yeah, very relevant one, because also it's true in venture, but mostly also with us, because with us also the first years, like everyone is in the carry. Also the first year, that annoyed me at other firms, that you need to work X amount of years before you get into the carry. But especially with us, salaries aren't highest. We're not the biggest fund, so but the carry percentages are largest in the Netherlands. Like it's very, let's say, progressive, because I want people to feel this is their company, and I want entrepreneurial investors that don't want a high wage carry, but their wage is just good enough. They really want to be in the carry. So the money from the carry, these their entrepreneurial ways, also hustling. They source it from their family. They get to lend half of that from Notice Ventures itself, being me. But being creative, they are to put up this money. There's some sayings in Dutch or English, but putting a lot of risk. They're going for it, which I like, and the entrepreneurs should also like. Sometimes I put a bad LinkedIn post, sometimes even with a meme, like, if as a founder you speak with a VC, ask this person whether this person will invest themselves, because often in Netherlands they don't, and still they can be good professionals. But I've also been in that position where I worked in venture capital but wasn't in the carry. It's different commitment and different way of going about than investing your own money. So
Yeah, sure. You should have skin in the game. I was so close to be joining a venture capital firm in Europe before I went back to China. It was like after my PropTech One Ventures journey. So I was just about to join 3VC, and also based in Austria, in Vienna. Also another venture capital firm, like the largest Series A VC fund out of the German speaking countries area. So even though I was just interviewing for the associate role, they also offer this kind of carry scheme. Although the rate can vary, right? But they all also offer this kind of opportunity to let each one of the investment team participate in this kind of really skin in the game.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I love that they do it. But unfortunately, it also often happens that people don't get it, or they get just a little bit to keep you happy enough, and then a little bit more later to tease you, whereby the partners, managing founders, they want to keep a lot to themselves. I've seen it way too many times. So good on that.
That might also
company.
be kind of a trap,
Yeah. You get a little bit of breadcrumbs to keep you happy, and in 3 years promotion you get more. But I also think you will attract people, because a lot of people want to be in venture capital. But the absolute best at some stage will say, F you, I'll do it myself, or I'll go to somewhere else. I really think that.
I'm also curious about how do you evaluate your investment, and I don't think DPI is not so suitable.
Yeah, good one. Yeah, sort of our performance right now, right, or our track record until now is still very much unproven, because we've done most of our investments in the last 3 to 4 years. And yes, you see how the companies are doing, but we've had sort of 2.5 exit. So yeah, that's still early days. Real track record takes a decade or more. So this is a long-term game. I'm not unhappy with how we go until now, but it's a reality, as I said, that majority of the companies you invest in don't do as well as you want. So yeah, you need to have thick skin to deal with that.
Yeah, I know that you don't have a DPI yet, but you must have your IRR. Is your IRR comparable or outperforms that of the NBA star turned VCs?
Yeah, I'm curious what IRRs they have, but I can imagine if you're really star, if you're that well known, that it's easy to get in, easier to get in on high profile deals. People like to have you on the cap table, and marketing, branding wise, we're not doing too bad. So to our investors, I think we are, on a course of beating other forms of financing. So I tell them, don't do real estate, don't do listed, invest with us. We don't have unicorn yet, so work to do.
Great. Yeah, surely you're gonna have a unicorn soon. And so Reinder, can we describe a time when a deal didn't really go as planned, and what you learn from that experience? I'm sure that you would have one, or you will have one, right? Because all the VCs will have such kind of a journey.
Many examples, many thoughts, companies you invested in but didn't work out, deals you missed. Some deals we missed because we couldn't raise the size of the money yet with our investor pool. And one also, we needed to move very fast, which we couldn't manage because we didn't have a fund. Those were pity. I think maybe one, some companies that you invested in didn't work out. They can have so many reasons: the people, the market, the scalability. I think one clear one which I learned was that one deal we got lured in a little bit because of the attractive investment terms, and I now know that's a stupid thing to do. You love a company or not, and then it's not any valuation goes. Absolutely not. But when in doubt, you shouldn't be persuaded by too attractive investment terms, I think, because it also shows a bit that apparently there weren't other investors willing to invest on those terms. But we did that once, and we learned the hard way.
Yeah, great. So, as a deal by deal venture capital firm, so I also wonder, so how do you source deals and how do you screen deals? Which is kind of different to a traditional venture capital firm.
Good one. I think most VCs look at the deals the same way, try and source the same way through your own networks. I like LinkedIn also, it works reasonably well. But I think what sets us apart, what helps us, is just our big group of investors. Like if we would be a fund, we would have way fewer investors and also more passive investors. Like, family offices, I like them because they have money, but oftentimes they're more asset managers, or they allocate some money from a very rich person. They're less likely to come through with deal flow. And also, if there's deal flow, do they come to us? There are many funds, and we have over 100 individuals which invest with us, and you hope they like us. So we get from that group that's an extra sourcing channel which we really like. And we also, as I said earlier, we try and involve a couple to help us screen the companies. Like, especially, as we're generalists, it's for us a KPI or an important metric to, let's say, in the second call or meeting, to have an external person sit with us in that call or meeting, because that just helps enormously. And we often try to have it be an investor, could also be a former rowing buddy of mine or whoever, but just someone that knows the industry. It works like a charm, whereby back in the day I also experienced working at other investment teams. They're all bright people, former bankers, consultants, whatever. And then it's sometimes a bit like, okay, we're smart, let's crack this case. Let's huddle together and what do we think of this company? That's a stupid thing to do. You should immediately, I go through my LinkedIn often, and I look for certain keywords or markets or competitors, and do people work there? And that just works really well. So I think that could be an edge we have over some.
Since you are investing 2 to 8 million into each startup, this kind of stage might also appear on LinkedIn searches. If they are too early, then they might appear on LinkedIn. But LinkedIn is quite useful when screening these kind of companies, definitely.
Yeah, true. And also the sizes of our companies, they don't have an advisor yet to do their fundraising. So oftentimes it's the founders themselves looking for investors. Yeah, and then you hope that one of their friends likes a LinkedIn post from me or a colleague of mine. You have to sort of stand out for the right reasons. Like, I like it. Also on LinkedIn, I try and show myself a bit and not be too diplomatic or business-like. I don't like sometimes the messages, I'm absolutely delighted to announce our investment in, or I'm humbled to announce, blah de blah. But I try to think, okay, let's suppose the three of us are in a bar drinking Chinese beer. How would I tell you about the deal? And what is for you interesting to hear about the deal? How is it special, different, funny, or whatever? And I think already if you write your LinkedIn post like that, then you already stand out a bit.
Yeah, so it reminds me also of a special case. I guess all the VCs, the VC partners have experienced this. So you've got your LPs, you've got your investors. So this one of your investors one day gives you a deck or a company saying that this deal is really promising, it's really good. But after a look at this, you find this a shit deal. And in a normal traditional VC case, and then you have to, sometimes you even have to fake a investment committee process to let him know that this might not be a promising deal. But for this kind of a deal by deal basis, so yeah, maybe it's easier to solve this kind of problem. So once this company it's really hard to attract potential investors, then this deal just compromises. It's easier to convince him that it's not a great deal.
Yeah, funny that you say that, because you're right. I think most VCs will have experienced that. I think also, I've learned my lesson. I really like, as I said, to be open and direct, but the older I get, the more I learn there's great value in doing that. So I'm pretty honest to the investor what I like and not like about such a deal. Also because I'm results focused, I don't want to burn unnecessary time looking at this file. If I really don't like the company, I'll tell them why, and usually that's the end of it. But it happens often whereby also, some investors will have very interesting deals for sure, but there are also investors that maybe just start out being an angel investor or a large investor, and as you say, they run into a deal and they think it's amazing, whereby we see 2,000 pitch decks a year, And sometimes literally they run into the first one and they think, wow, what a great deal. And oftentimes the same deck we've already seen months ago. So they get no everywhere, and then they keep on searching. So then in a try and be diplomatic, but I also will try to tell them like, hey, we see so many decks a day or a year. Maybe you should also first see 100 decks and then form your opinions. And then, they try to understand a little bit.
Yeah, maybe that's also like a way to screen these investors. Maybe they're just not fit enough to be investing with you, alongside with you.
Is there the former Olympic player background a huge plus for you?
There might not be that many Olympic game player turned founders.
No, for sure it's a plus for me. So I benefit from that. Maybe also because, in life you meet so many people and you have so little time, and also in investment processes, they speak with many VCs. They need to, form an opinion. Most VCs, everyone will smile, court them a bit, as if you're dating, you don't sit like this. So everyone will try and, be happy, positive, smart, blah, blah, blah. But then I think with my background, one, I stand out, and two, thank God, most people have positive experience. They think, I'm driven, or they look up to what I've done, that it took a lot of work, so I can, put my head down and work. So, yeah, for sure it helps. What's also needed in this super, super competitive space. Yeah, you need to stand out for hopefully the right reasons.
Great.
And I'm 2 meters tall, 6'7", maybe also helps. At least they see me from a distance.
Yeah. So right now I'm also quite curious about like the venture scene in Europe and Netherlands, especially, right? So is there any like particular VC culture in Netherlands or Europe, like unseen in the rest of the world? Like, I wonder if like all the Dutch VCs are quite straightforward, or it's just like you, or I'm just taking a guess,
Yeah, interesting. I think, maybe it's culturally driven on average. Looking at Dutch culture, we can be a bit more straightforward. If I speak with UK people, I love them, and they're often, but they're so diplomatic. I don't really like it that much. I just want to be told, you like the company or not, you want to do this or that, what do you like, what do you dislike. Yeah, I think Dutch VCs on average, they're more sometimes easy to get to business fast, like you get a yes or no faster, but on average you will have obviously Dutch VCs across any entire spectrum. On the other hand, also, yes, if I look at stories in the US, sometimes they move faster than we, so we still need to, evolve there a little bit on speed of decision making, on calculated risk taking, but then also being able to pay high multiples for the rockets, so to speak. But I think I like the Dutch venture capital scene.
Yeah, after like talking to so many VCs who are most of them straightforward, so I also like get used to this kind of human words, right? No more like AI words.
Yeah.
So how do you think the venture capital scene in Europe will evolve in like next 5 years, and how will no such ventures really adapt to this change?
A good and broad question. So, we see more and more venture capital firms being coming up. Well, we're no exception some time ago. So competition, I think, will remain high. You read a lot that, some venture firms will find it tricky to continue, some shakeout, because, companies are struggling a bit more than in 2021. So that could well happen a little bit, that some firms, stop operations. Would not be bad, because, that's also better for our competition, and there's just a lot of funding. It's sexy to be investors, so many former entrepreneurs or families, they think, I'll do it myself, and everyone may do so, but sometimes you see firms making investments, you think, Jesus, what are you doing? But I think we will keep evolving. As I said, important things is that the investment processes will go faster. That's just something we have to deal with, how to get to a decision quicker. and to be more competitive. Like for us to also become more international. I often tell, if people ask us, what do you want to do with Nose Ventures? I want to grow also across the borders. Why? If you have a founder which gets two identical term sheets, one from a typical Dutch VC, small company, and one from, let's say, more European VC with a European network of investors, European network of own team members, you're going to choose the second one. So that's why we have to grow further to become a more interesting investor to more companies.
We know that you have a huge No Such Ventures network and they source deals for you. And everyone is a specialist in their own fields. But for you and the core number in your company, maybe you have no idea about whether the company or the industry is good enough and how can you handle it, and is it maybe being harder in the future?
Yes, it makes it hard. If we only do prop tech, or real estate tech, yeah, it's easier because then you've worked in the industry yourself and you know all the people there. And we look at so many different types of companies. So yeah, what you can compare, is certain business models. Is it SaaS? Is it marketplaces? Is it also project revenue? So you do gain some experience there. Within our team, we have people focus on different sectors, so they already become mini experts in that field. And as I said, we really lean upon our network. We call it Who Wants to Be an Investor for a Day, and look with us at this company. And thank God, many people want to do it. This is, to many people, thank God, it's sexy work. Looking at and working with startup scale-ups, people like it, and I understand. Corporates, yeah, many people find boring. So many people, we ask a lot of favors. And people like to help us there, and it really helps us understand companies, because as I talked about speed, we need to do our due diligence and get comfort level in a fast amount of time, because if we're too slow we lose any deal. But it's a super important, nearly the name of the game on how you go about that process.
So nowadays there are like a lot of like Chinese founders going abroad, and as well as like Chinese Americans or Chinese founders, entrepreneurs, high net worth individuals looking into like European opportunities, whether it's a single individual company or a GP, a promising or emerging venture capital fund. So what's your perception for the Chinese capital or the venture scene overall, or the investors?
I think I have a positive view on Chinese entrepreneurs and investors, and with that I mean sometimes in Europe, or as we say the Western world, doesn't matter how we call it, but sometimes there's a bit of a negative view on China or certain things happening in China, right or wrong, doesn't matter, but it's people that believe the media or are being led by the media think very one-dimensionally. Liked my experience in Beijing, in Shanghai mainly, like already a couple of weeks ago. Absolutely loved it. Yeah, I met a bunch of interesting people, hardworking people, open-minded people. For sure, I would welcome opportunities to invest in Chinese founders, or to speak with Chinese investors that want to invest with us. Hate or love China, you can't deny that a couple of things are being done right. So yeah, you can't have a one-dimensional opinion, I think.
I believe Chinese LPs will love you too. Would you be willing to take their money?
For sure, yeah. Happy to offer them a video call, or if they come to Amsterdam, a coffee or a walk along the canals. I mean, we as a firm are doing well, and there are just very interesting investment opportunities here. It's just a fact. So yeah, would love to get in touch with people should they be interested.
Hopefully this video will bring more Chinese investors on board, and we'll strive our best to make this video more popular. Great, so this comes to the next last part of our podcast, which is the silliest questions we ask all the time. So, Reinder, what is the meaning of life, may I ask?
The meaning of life? Yeah, well, it's funny that you ask. Now you ask me, I'm already interested to hear what other people, respond to this, because it can be so immensely broad, thinking of it now, I operate on gut feel often. I try to experience life, so say yes to many things. Too many people do the same things and really have less experiences, and I'll be, it's blunt, but also the opinions of or time of these people I value less, because I like to speak with people that experience more. Routines just help me stay happy. I think, we all know doing exercise is good for you, eating healthy, but sometimes some people maybe don't feel like it or whatever. But this is in my system. I sleep well, eat well, and I work out a lot, and it just makes me so happy, having more energy myself and for my loved ones, for my family. So, but then still, I'm 39. In my rowing team and I play other sports. I'm the oldest person in all teams. So I'm thinking, how long can I manage this level? How long can I do this and that? So, within your life, you keep asking yourself different questions, doing different things to experience life, and never try and judge anyone. So you already know this. It's not an exact answer, sorry, but I like the question, man.
Just curious, like how long do you work and do sports each day respectively?
Oh, good one. I work pretty flexible. I also tell my colleagues, just do sports when you want to. You don't have to do it before a certain time or after. You can do it at lunchtime if you want. But I exercise 5 to 6 times a week, many sports, but it makes me happy. I feel amazing afterwards. After I've worked out, I tell my wife, you can now tell me anything and I'll still smile, like, I'm in good moods. Now you should try me. But I love my jobs, and that's important. So I want to put in time here. I'm smarter with my time. Maybe, people will call me focused. I'm the Olympic athlete. I know what I want, da-da-da. But it's hard to stay really focused in venture capital. So many people want to talk with you. So I'm getting better at understanding what opportunities to go or to chase.
Anything you would say to your younger self?
To my younger self, actually, not that much, because I think the older I got and the more I learn, like, you just have to do things to experience it. And with that I mean, I've done many different types of jobs. I could not have started No Such Ventures had I done one type of job for 8 years, because I learned from being a private equity investor, I learned from doing merger and acquisitions, I learned from being COO. I learned a lot, and then that enabled me that I could say to myself, I think I'm good enough. But also I did many sports. I meet with a lot of people, so I think I know better, my radar on what do I like. So I would tell my younger self, just go for it. Say yes and go. What's the worst thing that could happen? But I think I already did when I was younger. I was never afraid to do anything. I do want to stay young in the head also.
Sure. So last question, any advice that you would give to us as we're envisioning to become a media-empowered venture capital firm one day? Although not this year, maybe, not this soon, maybe with guys like 20VC on YUVC, though they are developing different business models, we are also exploring our own as well. So what advices would you give to us as we start as a media right now?
It's already that you're doing a good job now. Speaking with a lot of people, you come across educated, energetic, and also ambitious to me. Like you send out the email, you don't let go. When I gave you sort of a blunt answer back. So
I remember last. So the first email I sent you, you responded ask me half a year later again. Yeah, and I did.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, that's good on you. Yeah, so that tells me you're motivated. So no, I think you're on the right path, and then at some stage you will reach a point, if you're good enough, which you might very well be, whereby you say, hey, now I start my own firm, and then I think you can have a good start, because you also meet some founders which say, I would love to be your first deal. I know you will do everything for me, you will work hard. So I think you're putting yourself in positions. I think the questions for you obviously are, where would you want to work, geographically speaking, small VC, big VC, but also there only one way to find out, which I think you might already be doing, talking with a lot of people, experience it, just going for it, and that will give you more options in life. So yeah, maybe the advice to my younger self would also start a podcast, because I really, I like it. No, I'm serious.
Thank you for kind words, Reinder.
I really enjoyed podcast and love to stay in touch.